Welcome everybody to this video on my review of the game Control. Let's just kind of get into it. The story of Control, without getting any major spoilers in if I can help it, is that you are Jessie, a random civilian who just so happens that during her childhood had a mysterious interaction with the Federal Bureau of Control, or the FBC for short. Try saying that a few times quickly. And has been hiding pretty much ever since. Upon being led by a strange being that seems to be stuck in her head to New York, you end up at the headquarters of the FBC. She finds the place deserted, and upon investigating a little further, becomes embroiled in an attack on the FBC, and to get her questions answered, has to systematically help combat a supernatural threat that she just so happens to name the Hiss. And everyone else kind of just goes along with it, because she just happened to find the gun of the former director next to his corpse after the apparent suicide, making her the new director of the FBC, which has to make your introduction to the staff rather galling. Not only do random walk-ins off the street get promoted ahead of you, but then they murder half the workforce. I can only anticipate a few difficult exit interviews. The main part of the story is surface deep, described through cutscenes and major objectives, giving a simple yet intriguing mystery for you to begin to unravel. For the eagle-eyed collectible hunters, though, the world is dotted with fluff text that drags you in deeper into the mystery of who knew what was going to happen, why keep it from the employees, why does this damn building keep changing like an indecisive interior decorator, and frankly, this is the only game I've ever played where I actively read every document, listened to every audio log, and watched every video I can, as it can provide clues to what you may face, the fact the staff suspected something was coming, and how the FBC worked prior to the attack of the Hiss. It really did manage to keep me interested in enough to keep this going. The game keeps a juicy balance of uncomfortable tension, keeping me hyper aware, while they hold back just enough story and world building to make me surge like it's my lost heart medication every time I go to a new room. The story is the point to the game. What's the mystery of this place? What's Jessie hiding? And how does it connect? All drip fed to you, well, like essential heart medication keeping me hooked. The main issue I have, though, is with Jessie herself. Her animation and expression is always emotionless, whether she's interacting with Hiss-infected, floating, exploding co-workers, fighting off the endless ranks of the FBC soldiers firing an entire army's worth of ordnance straight at your skinny jean-clad ass, or talking to one of the NPCs who must have been mainlining a caffeine drip since the start of the whole crisis, because she is what you could charitably call chipper. Mix this with a tendency to do a Max Payne style monologue, and she comes across really, really wooden. A little like the writer was told she wears her emotions on her cool biker jacket sleeve. The animators were told Jessie was a stoic monk with hair, and the voice actor was asked to portray an unflappable badass. But maybe the monologuing thing is something to do with the position of the director, as the ghost of the previous director can't help but take centre stage with his outline, looking sideways off camera with a cigarette in hand, turning around to stare you in the face as if he was about to insist you can't handle this shit. So maybe it's just part of the job criteria. The gameplay of Control is smooth and intuitive, with combat being very satisfying, and I do have to admit, very satisfying. The developers have gone for aspects of Doom, encouraging you to be on the move during combat while engaging the Hiss, being the primary way to recover lost health. Indirectly, it kind of penalises you for hiding behind cover, simply by slightly uninteresting combat and withholding those very, very vital healing chips, which, trust me, some of the enemies, you will need them no matter what you do. But those healing chips can only be kind of picked up if you are near the enemies vaporizing corpses, which is a weird thing to say ever anyway. I never felt out of options to fight back. The service weapon has multiple forms, allowing you the archetypal weapon types, so the handgun, the machine gun, a shotgun, a sniper rifle, and a rather kind of ineffective grenade launcher, but that kind of... You've got so many different ways to fight back with the service weapon. That's not too much of a bad one. It all shares the same regenerating ammo, so once you're out, you have to wait for it to regenerate no matter which weapon you're using. It encourages you to use melee and the director's powers, one of which allows you to launch random objects at your enemies, which will never fail to be absolutely hilarious. Watch one of your former employees get blindsided with a recycle bin like the eco movement started fighting back. And trust me, it is very, very satisfying. It has not stopped making me laugh throughout the entire game. Just launch them, especially seeing as later on in the game you get the power to quite literally launch one of them if you feel like it. Shooting feels impactful no matter what weapon you use. Melee feels like basically how you fantasize about clocking the office idiot, and the powers, as I've already described, make me smile. Coupled with the auto-aim when you use your offensive powers, it makes for a nice, satisfying, fast-paced fight with enemies that don't suck up damage, like me at the old evening buffet. The main issue I have with combat, though, is that there are sometimes such large arenas that I spend a minute caught in my bloodlust, and then I have to spend another searching 2 or 3 levels trying to find the one guy who appears to have started an inappropriate relationship with the office printer. The boss fights can also fall prey to a bit of the dreaded cheese of many games. I defeated one of the early flying bosses by standing behind some protruding pneumatic mail tubes, firing through the gaps between the tubes, while the office chairs he was throwing my way were blocked by the same tubes. Apparently plastic having tensile strength of diamond in this world. The open-ended areas of the oldest house allow for organic exploration of levels, giving you a map that is incredibly confusing to traverse and will annoy a lot of people. But I found my way around it, and I kind of started liking the map a little bit. It started before the end, but I am a bit of a weirdo. The environment of the world is intuitive enough to find your own way around, with literal signposts telling you directions, though, if you really can't work out how to use the map. If, like me, you love story to the point it just has to buy you a cheap takeaway, and this game rewards your efforts of exploration, building an impression of a sprawling department with typical petty crap that I've seen in offices that I've worked in, compounded by the fact that they work with mystical powers in a building that likes to change shit up with the fashion. The game has a 60s kind of aesthetic mixed with the harsh white lights. Gives a serious G-Man vibe of oppression and overhanging dread, complementing the story somewhat. Mixing in analog equipment with the story of the game, so it does explain why everything is analog. It allows for open spaces, which obviously creates nice combat arenas, but there's enough kind of office detritus kind of lying around that you can start throwing the printer at the local idiot. But it does contrast very, very strongly with the fact that right in the very first scene, you see the outside world and you see that it's a modern world. So it does create a sense that the FBC is its own little world in the utter turmoil and is only being held in by the oldest house that everything is going on. Basically, it's like as if the doors to the oldest house flung open, all hell would break loose in the entire world. The enemies are a good mix of humanoid, basic, kind of infected, a lot of grotesque looking creatures, and, you know, they've all got various powers, and it's quite interesting to fight. There are some, like, banshee screaming little fuckers that can go off and shit themselves as far as I'm concerned, but it keeps you sufficiently grossed out and ready to shoot absolutely everyone. Bearing in mind these are your employees, so I don't know, HR's going to have a hell of a task by the end of it. In conclusion, while the game has its flaws and needs a little bit more optimization, especially in the Xbox version, which is one I was playing on, it keeps you on your toes, and at no point do I feel too super powerful for all the enemies I'm encountering, and provides a challenging combat, coming up with new ways to kind of like surprise me. And you will never tire of basically trying to come up with new puns for firing an office chair at your underlings. Its major strength will unfortunately be the thing that kind of makes it forgettable. the fact that it is a story where you're trying to find out absolutely everything, you're trying to learn everything that's been going on, and as a result, once you know what's going on, the combat mechanics aren't interesting enough to keep you coming back, and unfortunately I think that's just going to happen. But with a story-based game like this, it's always going to be the issue. And frankly, with all the live service kind of games that are currently going on right now, I would much prefer this than, you know, another game basically where they're trying to get all my money out of my pocket again. The main question though is, did I enjoy the game? And yes, if you can get it for a half decent price, it's definitely worth it. If you're if you're interested in story-based games, buy it. If you're interested in a nice, interesting, kind of like investigative, mysterious world, supernatural stuff, buy it. And pretty much from there, that's kind of like my review of Control. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys will give this game the benefit of the doubt and give it a go. Also, it's got an absolutely amazing soundtrack to it. But that's pretty much everything I've got for you guys. If you enjoyed listening to this review, please give it a like. If you didn't like it, then feel free to dislike it. If you want to tell me, I don't know, how shit I am just in general in the comments, go right ahead. I'll probably like your comment. But in the meantime, thank you very much guys for listening, and I will see you next time.